I was under the press machine at 5 a.m. when the error hit, not literally under it, but close enough. I was crouched beside line 3 with a flashlight and a laptop, running a manual diagnostic on a torque calibration fault that had tripped the sensor overnight. The floor was empty except for the hum of the HVAC and the flicker of the fluorescent lights doing that thing they always do in the first hour before the building fully wakes up. I fixed it in 22 minutes, logged it, closed my laptop, got myself a coffee from the break room. My name is Dale Hargrove. I'm 54 years old. I've worked at Harman Industrial Group in Pittsburgh for 14 years. And that morning, fixing a machine fault before the first shift crew even clocked in was the last time I did anything at that company for free. I just didn't know it yet. The calendar invite had come through the night before. Q3 performance and structural review. No agenda, no attachments. In manufacturing, that kind of vague title means one of two things. You're getting cut, or you're finally getting the promotion you've been earning for years. I'd spent 14 years building the production quality system at that plant from the ground up. I figured it was my turn. At 2000 p.m., I walked into Roy Caulfield's office. Roy was VP of Manufacturing Operations, 52 years old, corner office, view of the loading docks. He liked that view, made him feel close to the work without actually doing any of it. He was on his phone when I walked in, didn't acknowledge me for a solid 30 seconds. Classic Roy. "Dale," he said, finally setting the phone down face first on the desk. "Sit." I sat, notepad on my knee. "Your numbers are solid," he started. Defect rate down 18% year over year. Downtime incidents cut by a third. Quality scores up across all 3 lines. "You've done good work." "Thank you," I said. "The predictive database has been running cleaner since I updated the tolerance thresholds in." He waved a hand. "Right, the database. That's actually what I want to talk about." He leaned back in his chair. "Dale, you're a floor guy. You always have been, and we value that. But the director role requires vision. It requires someone who can lead culture, not just manage machinery." I kept my face still. I'd heard that word before. Vision. Corporate shield. Used to deflect merit. "I've trained every shift lead in this building," I said, keeping my voice level. "I've managed the night crew for 6 years. I've caught and corrected more production errors than anyone in this department. We need a change agent," Roy said. "Someone who can disrupt the status quo." He paused for effect. "We're promoting Brett to Director of Production, effective next Monday." Brett Caulfield. Roy's son, 29 years old, 14 months on the floor. I had spent the last month correcting his production schedules because he kept confusing cycle time with takt time. 3 weeks ago, he asked me, completely seriously, whether a defect rate of 4.2% was the good kind or the bad kind. "Roy," I said, steady as I could, "Brett submitted a shift plan last month that would have run the press machines 11% over rated capacity. I caught it at 5 a.m. and corrected it before first shift started. That's not a small thing." Roy nodded slowly, like I'd made his point for him. "See, Dale, that's exactly what I mean. You're focused on the ground level. Brett thinks bigger. He sees the whole floor, not just the individual machines." He stood up. "You'll report to him starting Monday. Help him get up to speed on the technical side. Teach him the nuts and bolts so he can focus on strategy." I stood up too. My knees popped. "You're a floor guy, Dale," Roy said. One more time, like he wanted it to land. "We need a visionary, not a repairman." "Of course," I said. "I'll give Brett exactly the level of support this situation calls for." Roy smiled. "That's the attitude." I walked out of that office and back down to the floor. Didn't slam the door, didn't say anything to anyone. I went back to my workstation, sat down in front of my monitors, and looked at the numbers running across the screen. Defect rates, machine cycles, throughput metrics, all of it clean, all of it green, all of it running because of a system I had built myself. Roy wanted me to be a floor guy. He had no idea that the floor ran because of me. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a printed copy of my employment contract, a red pen, and a mug of black coffee. The house was quiet. My son was grown, living out in Columbus. I had the place to myself, which meant I had nothing to distract me from what I was about to read. Senior Production Systems Analyst, primary duties: monitor daily output logs, submit weekly compliance reports, liaise with floor supervisors regarding safety documentation. I read it 3 times. Nowhere did it say database architecture. Nowhere did it say predictive maintenance systems. Nowhere did it say develop proprietary software. Nowhere did it say fix the VP's son's scheduling errors at 5 a.m. I had been doing all of that for 14 years because I took pride in the work. Because I thought if I built the system well enough, eventually they'd let me run it. Instead, they handed the keys to a 29-year-old who couldn't read a defect report and told me to teach him how to drive. I picked up my phone. It was 9:15 p.m. Normally, right now, I'd be logging into the remote server to run my nightly database sync, cross-referencing that day's output data, flagging any tolerance drift before it became a real problem. It took about 40 minutes every night. If I didn't do it, the drift accumulated, and within a week, we'd start seeing defect spikes that nobody could explain. My thumb hovered over the app. Floor guy, I said to the empty kitchen. I opened my laptop instead. Navigated to the scheduled task manager. Found the entry I was looking for. Hargrove DB sync, daily, 9:30 p.m., status active. I right-clicked, selected disable. A small dialog box appeared. Are you sure you want to disable this task? I took a sip of coffee. I clicked yes. I closed the laptop and went to bed. First full night of sleep I'd had in months. The first week under Brett was something else. He moved into the supervisor's office Monday morning. Took down the production flow charts I'd had on the wall for 9 years, charts that every shift lead used every single day, and replaced them with a whiteboard that said Agile Manufacturing Mindset in large block letters. He also put up a poster of a mountain with the word disrupt across the bottom in bold font. Tuesday he called an alignment session. 8 a.m. I showed up with my binder. 14 years of error codes, machine tolerances, vendor contacts, calibration windows, and maintenance sequences. I set it on the table. Brett looked at it like I dropped a cinder block in front of him. Dale, I appreciate this, but we're going more dynamic. Can you just give me the top 5 things I need to know? It doesn't work like that, I said. The press calibration sequence alone has 12 steps. Skip step 7 and the output tolerance drifts. We don't catch it until the client gets bad parts. Right. He was already checking his phone. But that's what you're here for, right? You keep the technical stuff running, I'll focus on the big picture. I've got a lean disruption presentation for Roy this afternoon. I looked at him for a second. Leave the binder, he said. I'll read through it. I left it. He never touched it. I knew he wouldn't. What Brett didn't know, what Roy didn't know, was that the system keeping the floor clean wasn't Harman's software. The company's purchased platform just displayed numbers. The actual work, the cross-referencing, the tolerance flagging, the predictive alerts, all of that came from a database I had written myself. 3 years of work, built on my home MacBook, nights and weekends. It ran as a local executable off my user profile. Nobody else knew it existed. They just thought the system was smart. Without my nightly sync running, the data was already starting to go stale. Nothing visible yet, but I knew the math. I gave it about a week before the first real crack appeared. It took 6 days. Nate Ortega called my cell at 6:15 a.m. on day 6. Nate was my floor supervisor, 8 years on the job, sharp, reliable, the kind of guy who actually knew what he was looking at. Dale, something's off on line 3. Output's showing green on the board, but I've got 3 operators telling me the parts feel wrong. Tolerance variance, they think. I can't pull the diagnostic data. The system's just showing clean across everything. Did you submit a maintenance ticket? I asked. I need to know right now. The pro-build shipment loads at 7 surge. Nate, I can't access the diagnostic layer without a formal work order. Brett was specific in last week's protocol memo. Everything goes through him first. Silence on the line. Dale, follow the protocol, Nate. The pro-build shipment went out at 7:12 a.m. Defect rate 6.8%. Contract threshold 1.5%. By end of that week, output efficiency had already dropped to 88.3%. Not catastrophic yet. Enough that a few people noticed, not enough that anyone above floor level was paying attention. Brett was busy preparing a vendor presentation. Roy was in Chicago for a regional conference. Week 2 is when Brett started coming to my desk. First time was a Wednesday. He walked over with his laptop open, turned it toward me. The weekly output summary is showing a variance flag on lines 1 and 2. How do I clear it? You can't clear it, I said. It's flagging because the variance is real. You need to investigate the root cause. But it's making the report look bad. Is there a way to just reset the display? I looked at him. No. He stared at the screen for a second, then took the laptop back. I'll figure it out. He didn't figure it out. He submitted the weekly report with the flag still active, added a note that said under review, system calibration in progress, and sent it up to Roy. Roy forwarded it to me with one line. "Dale, what does this mean?" I replied. "Please direct technical inquiries to the director of production." I didn't hear back. Thursday of week 2, Brett stopped by my workstation again. This time his tone was different, less casual. "I need you to run the full diagnostic on lines 1 through 4 this afternoon. Manual sweep, generate a report by end of day." I pulled up my job description on screen and turned the monitor slightly toward him. "I don't see that in my assigned duties. That's a systems analysis function, director level. Do you want to submit a formal work order so I can document the hours?" His jaw tightened. "I'm your director, Dale. I'm asking you to do it, and I want to help," I said. But Roy was very clear about audit compliance after the restructure. Everything gets documented. "So if you submit the work order, I'll start on it right away." He walked away without submitting anything. That afternoon, Nate came by my desk quietly, sat on the edge of the chair across from me. "People are starting to ask questions," he said, low voice. "The floor guys know something's wrong. They keep coming to me. I keep sending them to Brett. Brett keeps sending them to you. What do you tell them?" I asked. "I tell them to follow the protocol." He looked at me for a second. "Same thing you told me." I nodded. "Dale," he said, "how bad is it going to get?" I looked at the efficiency dashboard on my second monitor. Week 1 close 88.3%. Week 2 midpoint 79.1%. "Bad enough," I said. He nodded once and went back to the floor. By end of week 2, the first formal complaint from ProBuild had landed in Roy's inbox. A second shipment had gone out with a 5.1% defect rate. Their procurement lead, a guy named Phil Kowalski, had sent a 2-paragraph email that ended with the phrase contractual performance review. Roy forwarded it to Brett. Brett forwarded it to me. I moved it to a folder I'd labeled "Not My Job Description" and went back to filling out the weekly safety compliance form. Week 3 started with Roy Caulfield walking onto the floor for the first time in months. He came down on a Monday morning, blazer on, jaw tight. That meant he'd already had a bad phone call. Roy only wore the blazer to the floor when he'd been talking to someone above him and needed to feel like management again. He walked the length of the floor without stopping. Looked at the boards. Output efficiency, 71.4%. Defect incidents up across all 4 lines. The numbers were printed right there in red, and he stood in front of them for a full minute without saying anything. Then he scanned the room. His eyes landed on me. I was at my workstation entering the morning safety log. I looked up, met his eyes, kept my face neutral. He looked away first. He pulled Brett into the supervisor's office instead. Through the glass wall, I could see Roy pointing at the production boards, then at his phone, then at Brett. Brett was nodding. Then Brett started pointing at the floor, at the workers, at the machines anywhere but at himself. Roy came out 7 minutes later. He walked past my desk without stopping and took the elevator back upstairs. That afternoon, Brett called an all-hands meeting on the floor. All supervisors, all shift leads, Nate included. I stood near the back. Brett stood in front of the group with his arms crossed. "We've had some execution breakdowns over the past 2 weeks," he said. "Defect rates are unacceptable. I need everyone to tighten up their quality checks at the line level. This is a discipline issue." Nate, standing 3 feet away from me, didn't move a muscle. A couple of the older floor guys exchanged looks. Nobody said anything. After the meeting, one of the line operators, a guy named Ed, who'd been at that plant for 11 years, came and found me at my desk. "Dale, the variance on line 2 has been drifting for 10 days. I've submitted 3 tickets. Nobody's touched it. Brett told me it's a calibration issue and to just run tighter manual checks. What do I do?" I kept my voice even. "Did you document the tickets?" "Yeah." "Then you're covered. Keep documenting." Ed looked at me the way Nate had looked at me the week before, like he was trying to figure out what I knew that he didn't. He went back to the floor without saying anything else. That night, I had dinner with Karen Briggs at a diner on Route 51. Karen had been our systems accountant at Harmon until Roy let her go 4 years ago. He called it departmental restructuring. The real reason was that she'd refused to sign off on a vendor contract that had Roy's brother-in-law's construction company listed as a subcontractor. She'd flagged it as a conflict of interest. Roy thanked her for her service 2 days later. She was one of the sharpest people I'd ever worked with. After Harmon, she'd gone independent forensic accounting, contract work, small business legal support. I'd kept in touch. I slid a folder across the table. Inside, my employment contract, my job description with red pen marks, and a printed log of every task I had performed over the past 3 years that wasn't listed anywhere in my official duties. Karen read through it, methodically, didn't rush. Turned pages, made small notes in the margins with a ballpoint pen, the IP clause, she said finally. Standard boilerplate. Work for hire only applies to work done during company hours, on company equipment, within the scope of assigned duties, and my database, written at home, on your personal MacBook, on your own time. And your job description. She tapped the red-marked page, mentions nothing about software development, database architecture, or systems design. She looked up. Dale, they don't own it. They never did. They've been using it for 3 years without a license agreement, and without paying you a single dollar for it beyond your coordinator salary. I let that sit for a second. Karen reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. She slid it across the table. Inside was a certificate of formation. At the top, Hargrove Systems, LLC. Registered that morning. Behind it was an invoice. $180,000, itemized. Retroactive licensing fees for 36 months of unauthorized use of proprietary production management software, plus unpaid maintenance and support. They'll say it's too much, I said. Let them say it, Karen replied. Because the alternative is losing ProBuild permanently and explaining to the board why the entire quality control system was built by a coordinator on his personal laptop and they never even noticed. She picked up her coffee. The invoice is the polite version of this conversation. I looked at the number. Then I thought about Roy's hand wave in that meeting. Floor guy, repairman. Then I thought about 14 years of 500 a.m. mornings, fixing things nobody else even knew were broken. I picked up the pen Karen offered. I signed the document. One more thing, Karen said, stacking the papers back into the envelope. When this hits, Roy is going to try to say you sabotaged the system, that you did this on purpose to hurt the company. He's not wrong about the intent, I said. He's completely wrong about the facts, Karen said. You disabled your own software they never owned. You didn't touch a single company system. Every action you took was within your job description. She closed the envelope. I've already started building the timeline. Efficiency data, defect logs, complaint emails, all of it showing the collapse started the moment Brett took over. If Roy comes at you, we come back twice as hard. We shook hands across the table. Outside, the sky over Route 51 was getting dark. I drove home with the windows down. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't dreading the next morning. The following Tuesday, Roy sent a company-wide email, subject, Operational Update. It said Harmon was experiencing transitional friction due to a systems modernization initiative, and that leadership was committed to restoring performance targets by Q4. Efficiency that morning, 58.2%. Phil Kowalski from ProBuild called Roy directly at 11 a.m. I know because Roy forwarded the call notes to Brett, and Brett forwarded them to me with the subject line, Please advise. I didn't reply. The town hall was called for a Tuesday morning. Company-wide email, 7:45 a.m. Subject, all staff operational briefing, mandatory attendance. I'd seen maybe 4 of these in 14 years. None of them had been good news. We gathered in the main atrium at 10 a.m. CEO Walt Greer was already standing at the front when I walked in. I'd spoken to Walt maybe twice in 14 years. He was 61, gray-haired, the kind of man who didn't waste words. He wasn't wasting any now. Roy stood beside him, pale, checking his phone every 30 seconds. Brett was in the 3rd row, arms crossed, staring at the floor. This morning, Walt began, his voice carrying flat across the atrium. We received formal notice from ProBuild Construction Supply placing our account on 30-day probationary status. They have cited chronic defect rates, missed delivery windows, and failure to provide adequate quality reporting. He paused. Production output is currently running at 30% of our Q2 baseline. We have lost 70% of operational efficiency in less than 3 weeks. The room was completely silent. People were looking at their shoes. I could see 2 women near the front doing the math on their mortgages. We are launching an immediate internal investigation, Walt continued. He turned briefly toward Roy. Mr. Caulfield will be leading the recovery effort. It was a lie, and everyone in that room with half a brain could see it. Walt wasn't letting Roy lead anything. He was letting Roy stand there to absorb what was coming while Walt figured out the next move. After the speech, the crowd broke up in a low murmur. I went back to my desk. My phone rang 4 minutes later. Roy, I let it ring. Then a text, my office. Now, I went upstairs. Roy was standing at the window when I walked in, looking down at the empty loading dock. He didn't tell me to sit. Fix it, he said. No arrogance left in his voice. Just flat desperation. Whatever it takes, get the system running. If we can show ProBuild a 15% improvement by end of week, we might keep the account. I can't fix it, Roy. He turned around. Don't give me the job description routine. The whole company is on the line. I'm not talking about the job description, I said. I'm saying I physically cannot fix it. The system you have installed is the system you paid for. The system that was actually running this floor, that was mine. And I've removed it. Roy stared at me. It was my software, I said, built on my personal equipment, on my own time outside the scope of my assigned duties. I took it with me when my role changed. That's not sabotage, that's property rights. I reached into my jacket and placed Karen's document on his desk. My attorney has already sent the full licensing agreement and invoice to your legal department. If you want the database turned back on, we need to talk about a contract. I'll be at the diner on Route 51 if the board wants to reach me. Roy looked at the paper. Then he looked at me. Something shifted in his face, not anger exactly. More like a man who had just realized the floor he'd been standing on wasn't solid. Get out, he said quietly. I walked out, took the elevator down, drove to Route 51. Karen was already in the booth when I arrived. She had her laptop open and a coffee going. I ordered a burger. Walt Greer's assistant called at 1:45 p.m. I answered on the third ring. Mr. Hargrove, Mr. Greer would like to see you in the boardroom as soon as possible. I'm available in 30 minutes, I said. I'll be bringing my business manager. Brief pause. Of course. Karen closed her laptop. Showtime. The boardroom was on the top floor. Long table, 12 chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over the river. Walt sat at the head. Lorraine Duffy, general counsel, sat to his left, sharp eyes, yellow legal pad, pen already in hand. Roy was halfway down the table, not at the head. That told me everything about where things stood. Brett was not in the room. Karen set 3 binders on the table and slid them down, one to Walt, one to Lorraine, one to Roy. They stopped perfectly in front of each of them. Hargrove Systems LLC, Karen said, standing. The software that managed quality control for this facility for the past 3 years is the intellectual property of Mr. Hargrove. It was developed entirely on personal equipment outside of company hours and falls outside the scope of his contracted duties. The binder in front of you contains authorship documentation, development timestamps, and a retroactive licensing invoice for 36 months of unauthorized use. Lorraine opened her binder. Turn to the IP clause in my contract. Turn to the code timestamps. Her pen stopped moving. He wrote this on a personal device, she said quietly to Walt. Outside of assigned duties, the work-for-hire doctrine doesn't apply. Roy leaned forward. This is extortion. He's holding the company hostage while... Roy. Walt said it once. That was enough. The room went quiet. Walt read the invoice, $180,000. He looked up at me. If we agree to these terms, can you restore full output today? I can have it running in under 20 minutes, I said. And going forward, Karen answered. $18,000 per month. Remote monitoring and updates. Mr. Hargrove will not be returning as an employee. Hargrove Systems LLC will hold the consulting contract. Walt looked at Roy one more time. You removed the access credentials of the one person who understood how this system worked, he said. Then you promoted your son over him. And then you watched the floor fall apart for 3 weeks without telling me what was actually happening. Roy opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Clean out your office, Walt said. Security will meet you downstairs. Roy stood up slowly. He didn't look at me. He walked out of the boardroom like a man who had just watched everything he built turn out to be someone else's work. Walt picked up a pen and signed the invoice. Slid it back across the table. Fix it, Mr. Hargrove. I took the elevator down to the server room, logged in as a guest, pulled up the terminal, typed the command to reinstall the Hargrove Systems package, and reauthorize the API tokens. I hit enter. On the monitors out on the floor, the red indicators flickered. Then, one by one, they turned green. Defect flags cleared. Output queues started moving. Nate's voice came over the floor radio. Lines 1 through 4 are live. A cheer went up from the floor crew. They didn't know about the boardroom. They just knew the nightmare was over. I watched from the glass walkway above. Brett's office was already dark. His mountain poster was still on the wall. That was 2 months ago. I'm sitting on my back porch right now. It's 9:30 on a Wednesday morning. Coffee's good. The maple in the backyard is starting to turn. My son called last weekend. He's doing well out in Columbus. Asked how the retirement was going. I told him I wasn't retired. I just finally got paid what I was worth. Every month, a wire transfer from Harmon Industrial Group hits the Hargrove Systems LLC account, $18,000. On time, every time. I work maybe 5 hours a week. Check the dashboard. Answer questions from the new director of production, a guy named Clint Parrish, who Roy's replacement brought in from outside. Clint actually reads the reports before he responds to them. First week on the job, he called me and asked for a full walkthrough of the system, took notes, asked good questions. I spent 2 hours with him and didn't charge for it. Some people are worth the time. Here's what I took away from all of this. If you're the person everyone calls when something breaks, if you're the one who knows where the bodies are buried, who fixes the things nobody else understands, you need to protect yourself. Not because the company is evil, just because companies don't protect what they don't understand they have. Document your work. If you build a tool, a process, a system, put your name on it. Keep records. Know what you created and when. Read your contract. Know the difference between what you owe them and what you give them for free. And if someone ever tells you that you're just a floor guy, smile, nod, and go home and read your IP clause. I didn't burn the place down. I just stopped lending them the match. If this story hit home, give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more coming. See you in the next one. The most dangerous employee in any company isn't the one who quits. It's the one who finally stops doing what was never in his job description. They called me a floor guy. Turns out the whole building was standing on my floor.